Hello, today I'm reviewing Tales of the Grim Sleeper, a 2014 documentary directed by Nick Bloomfield, or Broomfield rather, and it talks about the Grim Sleeper, who was a serial killer named uh, Lonnie David Franklin Jr. And it doesn't really talk about this in the documentary, but the reason he's called the Grim Sleeper is he was active sometime in the 1970s till the early 90s, and then he stopped, took like a 10-year break, and then he became active again in the early 2000s, killing people. And the reason why he may have taken that break is he was married to a woman from Belize. I think you pronounced that, Belize. And during that time, he was in Belize, and there was also murders that were happening in Belize. Uh, he had a very, like, crime after crime after crime. Basically, his first crime was when he was in the army, and he was dishonorably discharged because he and a group of friends raped a girl in Germany. And really weirdly, they were able to catch him because the girl pretended to be interested in him and asked him for his phone number, and he gave it to her. So we're clearly not dealing with a criminal mastermind here. And during the 80s, there was a task force because there were a lot of women who were killed during that time. And later, they found that, which is a crazy statistic, that there were about 4 or 5 serial killers active in Los Angeles at the same time. So a lot of those murders that were pinned on the Grim Sleeper in the 80s were actually these other guys. That doesn't mean that he wasn't bad. He was really, really bad. And the horrible thing that this documentary makes quite clear is they they spent all of this money on investigation, but they didn't really go down to the neighborhood level and talk to people because the guy basically had a trailer in his front yard, and he would have sex with women in the trailer and murder them in the trailer and then just dump them in the city in different places. And there were women who survived being attacked by him, and the police could have talked to them. Um, he had this friend who was kind of like an accomplice who was taking pictures and watched him torture some women. So he was never arrested, never charged with anything. They didn't even talk to him, which is really, really quite ridiculous. And the only way that he was caught was his son was on in prison for some weapons charge, and they collected the DNA of him, and they realized that he was a close match to the DNA that was found on some of the victims, but he was far too young to have actually been involved in these crimes. So they arrested his dad, and then the weird thing is that the family kind of turned against the son, and they said, "Oh, you ratted him out." It's like, how did he rat his dad out? It was DNA evidence, had nothing to do with him. And anyway, if like if your father is a serial killer, rat your father out. I'm sorry, but there are more important things than family loyalty, and protecting other people is one of them. And the this document, so that's kind of like the facts of the case of Franklin's crimes. The documentary is quite interesting because it happened. When was he arrested? Franklin was finally arrested. Well, I think that he was arrested in 2000 and 2016, well, 2010 he was arrested and his trial began in 2016. So this documentary came out in 2014. So he was able, the filmmaker was able to go and actually talk to people who lived in the neighborhood. He talked to Franklin's son, he talked to Franklin's friend, he talked to like all of these neighbors. And so you get like oftentimes with these kind of documentaries, you have sort of like a helicopter view of what happened. And this is more like a down on the ground vision of what happened. And I think that it's very, very useful. And if I were in charge of the Los Angeles, not only the Los Angeles police department, but all police departments, I would make a documentary like this required viewing because it shows you how the approach to catching criminals should be tailored to the community which is suffering this, because they didn't say that there was this serial killer targeting these kind of women at all. And so people were going about their normal lives just thinking about like the normal dangers that they would have, because it's like a very low income environment and devastated by drugs. So if they just have like a guy or woman with street experience do the investigation, and in the film, the director is talking to this woman who is a retired prostitute, and she does a much better, like, I guess they're together like a couple of days. She does a much, I mean, she doesn't get out of the car, so obviously if you're going to do an investigation, you should get out of the car, but she does a much better investigation of just what happened, and she finds people to talk to than the police had done for 30 years. So it's just a matter of approach. And one thing that that I come back to again and again with these true crime documentaries is how you view the victims really matters in your ability to solve the crime. So in this case, they even referred, because so basically a lot of the victims, not all of them, but a lot of the victims were women who were having sex for drug money. Not all of them, but a lot of them, right? So they were considered to be so these crimes were NHI, no humans involved, which is like shocking, right? But like there was also another serial killer who was going on at the same time called Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, and he was stalking people in richer neighborhoods. So it's kind of like I forgot what documentary I was talking about, but oh, it was a book. It was a book about Dean Corll, and in Houston at the time, they had two kinds of crimes, like real crimes that affected real people, so rich and influential people, and then you had the crimes that affected poor people. And again, a serial killer was allowed to go free for many, many years because of the community that he was targeting. And so, obviously, if you're a serial killer, you would target groups like that. Because they don't raise their voices as much as other people do. They don't have as much of a voice in society as other people do. And the crazy thing is also that when the director is interviewing Franklin's son, Franklin said something like, "It's really, really weird, you know. I need protection in jail because of who my father is, because, you know, people might be looking for revenge. But I also need protection from the police and the guards, because they come up to me and they say, oh, my dad did a great job getting rid of scum on the street." And it's like, what? You think like a person is scum? Like, nobody deserves to be treated that way because they're addicted to drugs or even because of their profession or whatever. So, yeah, it's another sad true crime documentary. I would recommend, as I said, I would recommend this to law enforcement because it is so well done and at providing different perspectives on the crime. All right, what do you think? Have you watched this? Leave a comment in the comment section and let me know. Bye bye.